when you're looking at price action, it's doing things like this, and we have traded below it, but we're still remaining bearish. What I like to look for is inside that area of long-legged shadows or tails on the candlesticks. Now, above the high of the candle, that's usually called a wick, but down below it, tails, shadows, whatever you want to call it. But when the market trades lower and I'm bearish, I like to know where the consequent encroachment is on the longest of the wicks. If there's multiple wicks in here, or in this case tails, that's this one here. So if you look at that range from the open down to the low of it, half of that's consequent encroachment. If you note that and draw that out in time, you'll see that that's pretty much as far as the market's going to trade to. Now, if you don't know this concept that I've been teaching for a while now, it's something that you should go back and look at your charts, find it in hindsight, collect lots of examples of it, and you'll start seeing the foundation to my gray pool areas, where it's a PD array that's using the wicks themselves, and two or more consequent encroachment levels could constitute a gray pool. So while that's not the case here, it's just simply a consequent encroachment mid tail or shadow of this longest legged candlesticks formation here with that below the opening price. It's above that volume imbalance that I mentioned last Saturday before we would get to that premium wick consequent encroachment. Now, why am I calling it a premium wick consequent encroachment? Because the market's down here and trading up to it on Tuesday, Wednesday, then it falls out of bed and aims towards that low I mentioned that we would likely do after getting up into that area. Okay, so the initial draw was this volume imbalance, but because the market is volatile and it can trade through it, it trades to it and to the consequent encroachment of this long-legged candlestick, doji type formation underneath it. We broke lower on Wednesday, drawing right back down into this volume imbalance. Now, because the market is predisposed to go lower, we framed it with it likely being bearish, even if it trades back up into this area. We wanted to see it reject it. I think this would meet and agree with anyone's definition of rejecting. I went higher and it quickly, see the time amount of candles it took for it to get there, and then how fast it moved away. That indicates extreme weakness. Now, because it's up here and it's likely to draw down to that low, how can we trade that and not need it to go to that low and lower yet? My expectation is that because we went so hard on Friday lower, we're likely to gap lower than this low here. That's what I'm anticipating. Now, if we don't gap lower and we open a little bit higher, I'll look for it to trade down and then make another attempt to get below that low. Worst case scenario, it reverses on me, and then after a day or two, then it goes lower. That's, in my opinion, less likely, but it's always potentially there because I don't do a lot of holding over the weekend. But in this instance, because it was so likely to get down there on Friday, and I'll talk a little bit about after 4 o'clock p.m. in a moment, but because it's shown its willingness to be so heavy and really no interest in going higher, and it quickly repelled that levels up here. This volume imbalance, I would have never expected to create some short-term low to trade back up. Why? We're weak. We're likely to take out that low here. We have relative equal lows. That's going to be a real quick draw. And then look at this single candle here. And then we had this big down candle here. This is a balanced price range. So it's not likely, after creating this candle here, it's not likely to trade back up into this area and treat that as a fair value gap. It's likely to just continue going lower, and then fell just short of getting right below that low. Now, these levels down here, you're probably looking at them wondering what they are. What I've done was I put a Fibonacci on the highest bodies and lowest body and had projections ran, okay? But if we get below here, this is the minimum expectation I expect to see, and this is kind of like the perfect scenario for swing trading. That would be a perfect level for me to be content with if it was to trade down to there. So let's break this down a little bit further. Here's an hourly chart. You can see we traded up into that premium wick consequent encroachment on the daily chart. Then we had a lot of displacement lower. We opened on this candle, came right back up to that original draw on liquidity, which was that volume imbalance. Okay, so I only gave you 2 PD arrays on that daily chart so you can track and maintain your awareness or keep your bearings in where we're at in price relative to the daily chart. All the way over here, we see those relative equal lows that I mentioned on the daily chart. There's sell side below that. And then we had another one here on the hourly chart. You can see real clear. Now I've made them slightly faded so that way you can see that we did trade to it, but this is the one that's active now. Okay, so this was the volume imbalance on the daily chart that once we moved away from, it would draw down into that. Notice how we did that very thing here to consequent encroachment, which I'm not going to measure, and you can do that on your own chart. And we trade right back up into this inefficiency right here. See that? Now it trades outside of it a little bit there into an area that's a balanced price range. So this candle's open to its high, and this candle before it, all that price action back and forth, hits it, stops, and goes the other direction. We have the market trade back down, and then once we get down below the midpoint of this area here, it has difficulty doing what? Going any higher. And it breaks lower. Then we have this sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, trades up into it there, and then it's off to the races we go. Go, go, go. And then sell side taken. Once we took out these lows, it had a lot of heaviness, meaning that it was more likely to continue lower than any consideration as a retracement. There's no need for it to go there. It's in a hurry to get somewhere. Where is that? These old daily lows here. So if we look at how we traded and got right to the close, it was so close. I felt that we were going to at least give me my fill, but it denied me, and that's sometimes what's going to happen. We'll drop down into a hourly chart, same time frame, but we're breaking the days up with vertical lines showing you Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays trading. Notice how we had essentially a market maker sell model. Okay, original consolidation, smart money reversal, low risk sell, distribution, redistribution, and then the second leg is the most aggressive to the downside. 15-minute time frame. Here's that blue volume imbalance. And now because we went below it and we're bearish and we're aiming for this low down here and that original relative equal lows on the daily chart, we're going to divide that range up here in quadrants. And now it's going to act as an inversion fair value gap. Okay, so once we leave the upper half and come outside on a closing basis, notice we don't have a closing basis there. It trades outside of it. That's just like I call that a mohawk. It's just like coloring outside the line. Like if you have a child and they color a picture for you and they show, here you go, mommy, here you go, daddy. You're not going to look at your child and say, look at you, you fool. You didn't even stay inside the line. You're not going to do that. It's a treasure to you. Well, this coloring outside the lines is permissible. We anticipate those types of things happening. But when it does close outside of it, we're then going to watch, does it return back inside of it? And does the lower half maintain price? And does it stay outside of the upper half? As you can see, that in fact is what we have. And then when we leave it here, we have a displacement. This first fair value gap, this is exactly how I teach my inversion fair value gap. Okay, this is the easiest application to an inversion fair value gap from ICT. That first fair value gap that forms after breaking away, validating the inversion fair value gap. Once that forms, trading up into it there, perfect. That's exactly what you're looking for. And you place a stop just above consequent encroachment. That will be your underlying risk. So the fair value gap that forms after the validation of the inversion fair value gap, that's when you want to start your position. And then any opportunity you can add to it, you can do that. So the market does in fact break lower. It trades down to the first relative equal lows on the daily chart. There's sell side there, and it consolidates a little bit. Then comes and breaks lower again. Immediate rebalance, breaks lower and drifts right into almost filling me on Friday and almost taking out that old low on the daily chart. Here's a 1-minute chart here, and I kind of want to talk about, I got a lot of questions asking me how did I trust that the market was going to make this type of move here after the 4 o'clock. The market's going to wait until 4 o'clock close and that bell starts ringing. But then you have 15 minutes of settlement still. And then during those 15 minutes, you get to 4:14, right when the new 1-minute candle would open up. That's the closing bell. You're done. Regular trading hours closes. But electronic trading hours are still going until 5 o'clock. So you have 45 minutes still trading, and then you have that hour break until 6 p.m. Eastern time. When the market's really predisposed rather to move lower, many times it'll have this little bit of a Judas swing going into the 4 o'clock hour. And then after 4 o'clock, it really starts to accelerate into a target higher or lower. So it acts like a market on close algorithm where It knows that the majority of individuals are not participating right now. If they're day trading, they got out. They're too afraid to hold over because usually it gets real quiet and listless. It doesn't give you a whole lot of price movement. But when it's so close to an old daily low like that, and we're in a very bearish market Friday, this is when I am anticipating that type of run. So I'm going to hold on to it as long as I can, even if it's the last minute, because I've done this before where I got basically the low of the day and I was aiming for that very thing on Friday and it just simply didn't give it to me. And it's okay. But these levels here, you can see them on the fib. If you put them on that, you're looking at it over the view of the highest wick down to that lowest wick. And that projection lower, that's negative 0.5. Then you have negative 1 and then negative 1.5. This is where I believe that we're going to open at or below. That's what I think we're going to aim for on Sunday's opening. It's a guess. It's not scientific. It's just a hunch. It's just experience speaking, and I'm probably wrong. So don't hold me to it. Not that you can do anything with it anyway. You can't position yourself ahead of Sunday's opening, but that's what I believe is going to happen.